Welcome to the IELTS Secrets podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the speaking section of the IELTS exam. I'm your host, Neil, an English instructor from New Zealand, here to help you maximize your speaking and writing scores. Today, our focus is on the environment. Let's dive into our 4 questions. Question 1. What kinds of pollution problems does your country face? When addressing this question, it's important to follow a structured approach. Let's use our speaking template. Well, let's focus on 2 kinds of pollution problems my country faces. Firstly, and then mention the type of pollution, for example, air pollution. It happens mainly because, and then explain the cause, for example, heavy industrial activity. Secondly, mention another type, for example, water pollution. This is because, and then explain the underlying reasons, such as inadequate waste management practices. And now let's listen to a Band 9 response.
What kinds of pollution problems does your country face?
Well, let's focus on 2 kinds of pollution problems my country faces. Firstly, air pollution is a significant issue. It happens mainly because of heavy industrial activity and vehicle emissions. Secondly, water pollution is also a concern. This is because inadequate waste management practices lead to pollutants entering our water supplies.
Question 2. How can ordinary people help fight pollution? Moving on to the next question, let's use our speaking template. The first important step would be, and then suggest an action, such as reducing plastic usage. As a result, explain the positive impact, such as less plastic waste in landfills. Secondly, both adults and children should then mention another action, such as participating in community cleanup events. For example, and then provide an example of effective participation, such as joining a beach cleanup. And now let's listen to a Band 9 response.
How can ordinary people help fight pollution?
The first important step would be reducing plastic usage. As a result, we can decrease the amount of plastic waste ending up in landfills and oceans, thus protecting marine life. Secondly, both adults and children should participate in community cleanup events. For example, joining a beach cleanup can make a tangible difference in keeping our coastlines clean.
Question 3. Do you think that there should be stricter punishments for people and companies that pollute the environment? Now, let's structure our response using the provided template. I most certainly agree with this policy because, and then state your reason. For example, stricter punishments deter pollution. And then, if mention a condition, such as fines are significantly increased, then predict a positive outcome, such as companies will prioritize environmentally friendly practices. Next, the best example would be, and then provide an illustrative example, such as a company implementing sustainable initiatives to avoid penalties. And now, let's listen to a Band 9 response.
Do you think that there should be stricter punishments for people and companies that pollute the environment?
I most certainly agree with this policy because stricter punishments would deter pollution. If fines are significantly increased, then companies will prioritize environmentally friendly practices to avoid financial penalties. The best example would be a company implementing sustainable initiatives such as renewable energy and waste reduction in order to avoid hefty fines and contribute to a cleaner environment.
Question 4. What sort of pollution problems do you think the world will face in the future? For our final question, let's structure our response using the provided template. If, and then mention in condition, the population, such as the population continues to grow, then predict a consequence, such as increased waste production. Also, if and then mention another condition, such as climate change worsens, then predict another consequence. For example, more frequent natural disasters. Next, I do hope that mention a solution or wishful outcome, such as advancements in clean energy technologies, will, and describe the positive impact. For example, mitigate pollution and combat climate change. And now let's listen to a Band 9 response.
What sort of pollution problems do you think the world will face in the future?
If the world population continues to grow, then we can expect increased waste production, thus exacerbating pollution problems. Also, if climate change worsens, then we may face more frequent natural disasters, further impacting our environment. I do hope that advancements in clean energy technologies will emerge, mitigating pollution and combating climate change for a more sustainable future.
Dear IELTS candidates, remember to use these templates to structure your responses and boost your speaking scores. Send your audio responses to our website for expert evaluation and personalized feedback. Tune in the IELTS Secrets podcast next time for more tips and strategies for excelling in the IELTS exam. Happy practicing!